If you're looking for that one game source code that will fund your indie game studio for the rest of the year, check this out. Now, before I go over the mechanics and explain how this game was developed to add cash into your developer account, check out the dozens of reviews from the original source code. Also, in this source code, I wanted to share with you that you're going to receive an SDK that will track your analytics so you can measure the app's success and tweak it to make more income for yourself. Now, like most indie game developers, you're probably still looking to create that game that will set your studio up with some serious cash reserves for probably the next year or so. In order to make it big in the App Store, you're going to want a casual type game to attract a larger audience. Since we're dealing with 99-cent in-app purchases, you'll want a few thousand downloads in order to get into the big numbers. And the way to do this is a casual, easy to pick up game, what I call the toilet time gameplay. And of course, seductive money-making mechanics that lead users to purchase cool stuff. So the first thing you'll want to do is have something in place to track your players. This way you're measuring your success so you're not guessing what works and you have hard data. Now don't worry, in addition to the great game mechanics I'm explaining, you're going to be receiving a really cool SDK free that is already set up to track players, their purchases, and other important key metrics. This way you're building your game with important systems that game studios use to build a profitable game. Now, I'm going to explain some gameplay mechanics already set up in this code that will explain why game developers are not pulling in more free downloads and more money with their games. The first being retention, how long the player is in the game. It's obvious better retention equals more money, so how do I get impatient gamers to stay in the game? As you already know, most games go like this. The player enters the game, then they exit the game within seconds, just like that. You lost them 6 months of development, and within 5 seconds, they're gone. So let's look at the main menu. How do we solve this retention issue? What we did was place a huge big button to get started, obviously to click. Then we get gamers into locking in or creating an emotional connection with the character, the main character, which is Vlad. You can create any character you want. Now check out the upgrade menu. We really worked hard to get this knocked out. Not only will this be able to make you money in what I call the money-making screen, but for retention, players become invested in the character they actually upgrade. And we also allow players to upgrade their hero with either real money or coins earned in the game. This little menu here boosted the amount of time players were in the game, and it also increased the amount of players coming back to the game later, thus increasing the retention. Now, the next problem you may be having as an indie developer is not having a large marketing budget to get a lot of downloads. No worries, that's why we indies need to be creative, right? Think outside the box, so we did. You see, we created a super cool viral mechanic leveraging, of course, the largest website out there, Facebook's huge user base. We don't hide it on a menu, we put it right inside the gameplay, and when players start the game, we ask them if they want to play with their friends. If they choose yes, they will see their top 3 friends score during the game. Then they will also have a chance to invite friends or brag to their friends on Facebook how well they're doing in the game. This opportunity happens on each end of level screen. This means free marketing and more downloads for you without having to pay for those expensive $2 to $7 installs. And this lets your users be your apostles, which basically means spreading the word that your game is great. So another thing we wanted to address is how can we have your game pay for the next 12 months of development while you're building your game studio? And it's no surprise that most indie developers are not making that much profit making their games. So what they usually do is they turn to publishers. Some of these publishers take whatever they want because indies have really no leverage, and it's a simple calculation. The more gamers who see your store, the more money you can make, assuming that they have a vested interest in the character or the game that they're playing. So by knowing this, getting them to look at the store, that's really our investment center. And we place this store for this source code every time before the player begins the level. Not only that, it's based on upgrades that change the gameplay and allow players to advance further than their other friends that are on Facebook competing with them. So check out the upgrade scene, it's really cool. You can see that there's a part that says choose a platform. This changes the height of the player's bounce. There's multiple platforms that they can select. And if players want to reach bonus stuff higher in the air, they need to pay more or purchase some upgrades. Then we have the hero upgrades menu, and this is where players can boost up their hero. This is how they attach the emotional connection to their hero. And also this allows players to increase the Dragon Flame boost distance, and also allows them to increase the amount of time the bubble shield stays active, which are some cool power-ups, and many other cool stuff. Now, when you get this source code, you as the developer wins either way, because either gamers are going to earn coins because they're playing more, which increases your retention, or they're going to buy them using in-app purchases, which means more money in your pocket. Lastly, this upgrade menu is prime real estate. As you can see, there's 3 buttons there, and players are allowed to remove ads, which is super profitable. They can unlock all items if they want to purchase a $49 in-app purchase, let's say, or they can choose kids mode, which we call it, which removes these challenging black dragons or whatever object that you want to use. And this object or the black dragons would kill the player with one hit, making it a little bit more challenging for players. Though what's funny is you'd be amazed how many parents pay for this upgrade so their kids can keep playing without interrupting them during a dinner or a long car ride. So many parents have asked us for this, so we gave it to them, and it's a really great profitable in-app purchase. Now, in most games, there's really no real reason to share or brag or have a vested interest in keep playing the game. That's why retention rates are so low and players drop off and you can't build a game studio from your game. One of the coolest money-making mechanics in this source code is our Kingdom of Coins level. And after players collect coins, they turn them into diamonds. After each and every level, we send players to this Kingdom of Coins level to collect diamonds and build their kingdom so they can share it with friends on Facebook and Twitter so it goes viral. Now, psychologically, players are now, with this Kingdom of Coins, collecting, which means gathering as many coins as they can, which is increased retention, and they're also competing with friends, basically showing off whose castle is bigger with friends on Facebook and Twitter. And what's really cool is players can easily at any time purchase more coins on the screen, which increases their collection and the size of the castle. So we use this in all our games, and it's very profitable. We initially were going to take this out of our licensed source code, but we decided it's a really powerful bonus to give to you, and it's a great way to start a relationship with us and the team at Dreambot Studios when you purchase the source code. You see, it's all about building high quality games for us and having these games help build your game studio with the lowest risk possible. And this is why we built the source code the way we did. Our team of experienced game developers and artists has spectacular game industry experience under their belts. They actually worked on great games from Atari and other huge money-making hits in the App Store. It took us many iterations to update and get this game right. We tested the source code with people in front of us and then doing small private launches. This source code easily took 8 months to create, then we did live testing for another month or so, and having great developers work in-house on a project for 8 months is not cheap. Trust me when I say that this game took over $19,000 to create. Finally, feeling comfortable with a great release and a profitable project, which you can see by the great reviews we received from the source code, the attention to detail paid off, and we now have a powerful source code to continue launching multiple apps in the App Store. Now, the reason the game took time to create is because we systematically knew this code would be reused for other games. So when you get your source code, you'll receive easy to follow documentation to begin creating your own game. You simply just need to modify the 3 SDK IDs for advertising, analytics, and marketing pop-ups so you can earn some money. Then you would just replace the images. There's just one main character, 3 backgrounds, a couple objects and power-ups, and your main menu icons. Remember, this is a high-quality game with limited amount of images so you could reskin it quickly. Now, this source code is a huge success with other indie developers. These guys are reskinning the game and finishing within 2 weeks, sometimes sooner. This allowed game creators to cut down labor costs and increase the time it took to launch their games, which allows them to make more money sooner, and the source code was developed to rapidly launch and see quick results. It's an easy reskin, and there's no modifying of game mechanics required. Now imagine launching a proven game title within 2 weeks, then having the game analytics to modify and measure your success. This is what we were aiming for when we created this source code. Now, our studio has amazing developers and artists from Atari and coders who worked on the top 100 apps in the App Store right now. To prove it, you can see the amazing reviews we received for this game already. This game averaged a 4-star rating at the time of this video, and you know how harsh reviewers can be on a game, especially a free one with ads. So to help make sure you begin developing your own profitable game studio, I went ahead and installed a free SDK that covers the game analytics. It's a tool to measure your ARPU, your DAU, and other key metrics. It's the same analytics SDK successful game studios are using to discover how to make more money from their games, and you'll have this included in the source code. This way your success can be measured, and one of the most important parts of any game is knowing what players are doing so you can monetize from that and how to make a better experience by understanding what they're doing as well. This is all included in the code entirely for free. So just to introduce myself and Dreambot Studios, you're going to be receiving a full ready-to-use game template, which costed us $19,000 to develop. The advertising SDKs such as AppLovin and Ad Colony, we use this to show video ads if players want free coins, which is super profitable as well. There's a marketing interface SDK. It was formerly called Playhaven, but now it's called Upsite, and we use this to show banners to promote in-app purchases, also to ask for reviews. and also to show ads which people can install other games, and many more features, even free push notifications. And this can all be done without having to resubmit your app to get it updated by the App Store. There's also the in-app purchase menu system we talked about earlier, so you're not interrupting players when asking them to purchase stuff. It's all part of the gameplay. And these in-app purchases are integrated into the gameplay, so players don't have to leave the game to get to your store. There's also the Game Analytics SDK that's in there, so you know your numbers, you can measure your game success, and expand your income into paid advertising if you choose to do so. Also, we have the Kingdom of Coins, a super powerful game mechanic that adds retention, income, and viral downloads that you can apply to any of your games, and we use this for all of our games as well. And lastly, the documentation to easily reskin, understand, and launch your game within days. So you'll have your source code, which costed us at least 19 grand to develop from scratch at a fraction of the price. So be sure to grab your source code now, but do remember we're releasing a limited amount of source code to developers. This is because we do use this code ourselves and we want to keep the game limited to the public and not overpopulate the App Store with too many of them. So this special is limited to a first come, first served basis. Once our goal for the source code is reached, we will remove the source code from the public or raise the price. Now, with such a great source code, you're probably asking, what's the catch? And there's really no catch. We've been offering source codes privately to our indie friends for about 2 years now. And friends and other game developers were reaching out to us directly to make them games. It just made sense to release a select source code for limited time frames to the public for our business. Plus, we already have a large user base of gamers who love our titles from releasing new games from this exact source code. So it doesn't really interfere with our user base by offering this source code to select game developers during our limited time launch. Now, you're also probably wondering what's the game engine? Well, this version of the source code is developed using Cocos2d. This project was built in XCode, which is a version 5.02 for the iOS SDK 6 or later. Now, newer versions of Xcode will have no issues building this project. Currently, it's only available to release on the Apple App Store, which is the most profitable right now. That's why we selected that. And the game source code will be available to create on all versions of the iPod, iPhone, and iPad with no worries. Now, another question you're probably concerned about is how many images do you need to reskin it? And there's just one main character, 3 backgrounds, a couple of objects, which includes the enemies and power-ups, and lastly, your menu icons. It's a high-quality game with limited amount of images. This way, game developers are reskinning this game within 2 weeks or less. And maybe you're curious if the game does come with documentation, and I have to say absolutely. As with all of our games, we provide documentation explaining the layout and function of the code. If you are familiar with Xcode and or Cocos2d, you'll have no issues with this game code. Lastly, if you're wondering if our game studio offers reskinning services, we sure do. We can quickly help you out with art, reskinning, additional mechanics, and releasing the game to the App Store if that's something you're interested in. Now remember, this special is just to introduce myself and the team at Dreambot Studios. This special is only going to be available on a limited time, and since you're in a special launch, you will be receiving this special price and availability. That's why you're watching this video now, most likely. And that's going to basically include the full game template, which is valued at 19 grand. That's how much it took for us to develop this from scratch. You'll receive those advertising SDKs, which includes AppLovin and AdColony. All you need to do is change those IDs to make it activated. And you'll have the marketing interface. We use Upsite, which was formerly called Playhaven. That way you can easily show new banners or promote other in-app purchases, ask for reviews, and many other features, including the free push notifications, and that can all be done without updating your app to the App Store. There's also the in-app purchase menu system, so you're not interrupting players when you're asking them to purchase stuff, and in-app purchases are all integrated into the gameplay. Players don't have to leave the game to get to the store. You'll also receive the game analytics that I was talking about, so you know your numbers, you can measure your game success and expand your income into paid advertising if that's what you choose to do so. Lastly, also there's Kingdom of Coins, which is a super powerful game mechanic that adds retention, income, and viral downloads that you can apply to any of your games. And of course, documentation to easily reskin and launch your game within days. So go ahead and grab your source code now while it's being offered at this special price.
Yeah!